Welcome everybody once again to the Merchant Token official channel. Today is a particular live stream that I want to do to you. It's not a project update and not an AMA, so unfortunately I will not be answering any questions. I want to focus, however, on something extremely important that I have seen in the past few months, I would say actually since the ICO started. However, recently, we have seen that kind of like come back from some community members. And the reason why I'm actually doing this live stream today is because I want to clarify certain things and most importantly, give you the tools to do that research for yourself. So I'm not gonna, like today, for instance, we saw a lot of tweets back saying 1 year for us to come up with a lie or something. I'm not gonna be sharing any lies here. I'm literally just gonna share with you the tools that you have already in your possessions for you to go and check everything that I am going to tell you today. So that's actually what is going to be focusing on today. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, of course, with the current market trend that is quite bearish right now, there is a lot of fear back again. And we have always said that you don't lose your money until you actually sell your tokens. That's when you actually realize your loss in that sense. And it is the same for MTO, but it's the same for every other token out there. And therefore, because I have seen that kind of like come back on, I would say, we can even call it an attack on the community, I really wanted to share this with you that will allow you to take the decisions for yourself. Because remember, guys, the first thing that you have to do for every project is do your own research and buy or sell, you know, depending on how you feel about what is going on and the information that you manage to gather. So without further ado, let's just jump straight away into that. So I will be sharing my screen today. And the first thing that you want to do is Google, literally you can just go on Google and search for MTO etherscan, this one here. So if you click on this link, it's just gonna open etherscan. If you don't know what etherscan is, it is basically a website that goes and look into the Ethereum blockchain. So because MTO right now is an ERC20 token, you can actually go and check every single transaction that ever happened within the blockchain on this website. Of course, etherscan manages every token and of course Ethereum itself. So every ERC20 token that you can see. So you need to be more specific, and that's the reason why I search for MTO etherscan. Unfortunately, it only tells you the time, the age in like this. So you actually have to hover on top to know the exact date on when that happened. But I will actually show you as well how to check that. So the first thing that you have to know is on this page, you have the total supply, the quantity of the holders that you have, and how many transfer has been done within this token. Bear in mind as well that the transfer that you will see here are the transfer that has been done on decentralized exchanges, for instance, on Uniswap. All the centralized exchanges, there is no way for you to know it. And that's actually one of the main reasons why we at MTO believe that decentralization is the key, because of transparency as well. So what you want to do to go and check this for yourself is the holders. And what I'm going to be talking to you today, basically, and I want to go specifically on the topic that I will be discussing today, is the fact that a lot of people were saying, or basically believing, or trying to sell you the idea that the MTO team rug pulled the investors during the ICO. And the reason why it seems funny to me that someone will actually even say something like that is because if MTO or HIPs were to be as scam as you, like as many people said before, then why would they even add liquidity into Uniswap? They would have just run away with the money that they collected during the ICO. So it just doesn't make sense. And the reason why I'm saying they is because I was not part of the team back then. However, by adding liquidity, so with that, we clarify that it's not a scam because, as you know, we have been working on the project, we have been developing, and we have been moving forward. So definitely it is not a scam. But what I want to clarify here is some people still say that the tokens were sent first to certain, maybe family or whatever, friends or whatever of the members, the core team members, and then they sell off and cash in by rug pulling the community. And the reason why that doesn't make sense is because why, if you have the money that you raise and you get a tiny portion of that and you add it into the liquidity, why would you sell off to cash in on that liquidity that you just added? It just doesn't make sense to me. It would make more sense to leave it there, wait for people to keep buying, get the price to grow up, therefore adding more liquidity, and then you go there and sell off. But again, you can actually go and see that never happened either. So that's actually what I want to clarify here today. And again, I'm not clarifying here, I'm not coming here to tell you reasons and why it did not happen and that. No, I'm just gonna give you the tools for you to check it for yourself. So the first thing that we need to see is we have here the merchant token deployer and Uniswap. All the other addresses, they don't matter for what we're trying to do. So as we say here, we are on the holders tab, which will tell you every single wallet address that actually own MTO, and you can actually go and search them all here. So we can see here that the merchant token deployer holds over 35% of the tokens. These are actually held by HIPs, and as you know, basically they are actually locked for a certain amount of time. And most importantly, the majority of them we still have here. For instance, the ones that were won by the community with the referrals, they are still locked in the merchant token deployer. But most importantly as well, the majority of the tokens that are being held in there are being held for one reason and one reason only, which is partnerships. Because once the main ecosystem is deployed, and we need actually to get partnerships with either merchants or big companies and something like that, and the only way for you to do that is to give them basically tokens so that they actually have a stake in the project itself, and they want to actually see it progress and improve. So that's the main reason why those tokens are there. But the reason why I will be checking the merchant token deployer is because all the tokens were generated into that wallet address, and I will show you in a second. And the second one that you want to see is the Uniswap V3 MTO. Once again, guys, you are free to go and check every single transaction out there. They are there for you to see. Nobody can hide them, and that's why it's so important that you know how to check these things for you. So let's go and check. The first thing I want to go is on the deployer, which is this one here. As you can see here, there are only 2 pages. It is not a big list of transactions that have happened with the deployer, and I will explain in a second why. However, the Uniswap, of course, have a ton of pages with a ton of transactions, because, of course, every transaction that happened on Uniswap will be in this page. So the first thing that we want to see is that the first transaction actually happened back in March. And if you notice, the first transactions come from a null address, which means that it doesn't exist, and is the creation of the tokens. Then the developers basically added 156 MTOs into Uniswap V2 back in April, basically, and then that was, sorry, I'm confused because it's the wrong one. So up the 30th of March, yeah, the 2nd of April, and then back in July, basically they took off their liquidity. And why were they why did they took off the liquidity on Uniswap V2? And I want to clarify that. And it's because in 2021, so last year, in May the 5th, Uniswap V3 came to life, which is a new way of adding liquidity for the projects that Uniswap basically gave out or deployed, and the project decided to add liquidity into Uniswap V3. Remember that all the tokens started, like this was basically happening around July, so not even 2 months after Uniswap V3 was out, because it was a new technology, a new way of handling the tokens. The team needed to do some test transactions. And that's the reason why we added here 43,000 tokens, and those were added again in July. So we go now and see on Uniswap what actually happened. And you can actually see here on the same date, you have the tokens arriving. And after that, and we want to also clarify, this was happening on the 3rd of July. This is DEX Tools. On DEX Tools, you can actually go and check every single transactions that are happening right now. You can actually go and check them at the bottom. And it also checks the price as well. It is one of the most accurate ways for you to actually check the price. We see here that on the 3rd of July, you can see here, the price was around $3.20, which is the price that was on the ICO at that time, and the price starts rising. And that was not the team that started pumping the price, as a lot of people thought, but simply people buying the tokens. As you can see here, when you see in, it's basically people selling tokens, or in this case, adding liquidity to the liquidity pool. But when you see out, it's basically people buying. And the way it works, you basically add a certain amount of Ethereum and a certain amount of tokens. And if you have more Ethereums than tokens, then basically the price, of course, becomes higher for MTO. But if you have more MTOs than tokens, then the price goes down. And that's very, 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 very easily how it works. Of course, guys, I would really advise you to go and check and do some more research on how actually the liquidity pool on Uniswap V3 works, just for you to have a better understanding on how this works. But you can see here, literally, that all the transactions, other than a few people selling off like 70 or 10, for instance, the majority of the transactions that will happen from this moment onwards, look, they are all buying, buying, and buying. And the reason for that is not because somebody was giving them the opportunity before you could sell off your tokens. No, those tokens were on the DEX. It is a DEX. It is a decentralized exchange. Once you add tokens there, once you create that pool, people can buy and sell, and you cannot control. There is nothing you can do to stop them. That is the power of decentralization. And this is what you have to consider, that the reason why the price raised so much is because people were buying. And the craziest thing is that the ICO was just finished at $3.20, but people were still buying it, even on Uniswap, after that test amount of MTOs were added into the liquidity pool. And then what we see here, and this is what we can see, look, all of these transactions, 326 days, for instance, they are all people buying and buying and buying. There are just a few for 3 MTOs, 4 MTOs, 2 MTOs, 93 MTOs, 1 MTO, but the majority of the transactions happening here are mostly people buying MTOs. You can see here again, the majority of people are buying MTOs. And then another day to be very careful with, if you want to know, is the 6th of July, which is 324 days, which is when the majority of the liquidity was actually added into the DEX or Uniswap. And the reason for that is because the tokens were about to be sent out to the community, so liquidity needed to be added at that point. And you can see here 325, so 324. Again, a lot of people buying tokens. We want to find a transaction actually where the team added the liquidity, which is this one here. So you have here in tokens basically 288 days, and you can see that is coming from the merchant deployer, as you can see here. And from then onwards, again, a lot of people still kept buying and buying and buying and buying. And then what we want to see into that, and this is basically what confirms that the team itself did not do a rug pull or such a whatever people basically are sharing, whatever conspiracy theory they are sharing, is because the very next transaction, unfortunately, they're not on the same page, but the very next transaction that you can see here, this is again from the deployer, so the same merchant token deployer, same address, wallet address that you have here. The very next transaction is for 64 million that were sent basically to everybody that bought during the ICO. So we have here the team adding some liquidity for testing purposes, and then the team finishing the addition of the liquidity into Uniswap, 324 and 14 days, and then go to previous page and go to the last part, and you see the next transaction is basically the team releasing all the tokens back to the community. And when we see that, basically this started happening on the 7th. And the reason why not everybody got all the transactions all at once is because Ethereum cannot handle to send 60,000 transactions all at once, and it takes time. Go and do your research. You don't take my word for it. Go and see and how Ethereum works, how the transactions works, and how the system of the gas fees works. Because remember, every single transaction that came out from here as well, the team had to pay the gas fee for that to happen. And when you are doing a multi-sender, and that's the reason why you will see sometimes when you go and check on your launchpad and you go and check the transaction that actually came to you, you will actually go and see the multi-sender, and you will see that the same transaction that brought your tokens sent tokens to a lot of people, and that's what everybody uses. If you withdraw money from Binance, you're not withdrawing money yourself. You're not using one transaction from yourself. You're not using a block for yourself. That's the reason why it's called a blockchain. But basically what it does, you can actually go and check it for yourself. When they give you the transaction ID, you will see that a lot of others transactions are included within yours. So this is not something that we came up with. This is how it works. And of course, you can send and request all the transactions to happen as soon as possible, but it will still take time. And basically, what we notice here, that once the transactions started, once the tokens were sent out to the community members that bought during the ICO, they start selling off. And that was because, of course, many reasons you can say in there at that point, but that's the reason basically what started happening. And you see here a lot of selling off, a lot of volume of people selling off. And it could be because it was the Bitcoin just crashed, or it was because maybe it just climbed up to $4.80 or almost $5 at that point, and people just wanted to cash in, because that was the main issue here. The tokens were sent off by the ones that bought at the end, but even the ones that bought at the end, that bought at $3.20, when you have a token basically at $5 and you see that everything else is crashing, you start selling off. And the more people sold off, the more other people just add up. And as soon as basically people start getting their tokens, they start selling off. And again, I don't want to go into details into why people sold off. That's not the reason why I'm here. I just want to give you the tools, once again, for you to understand how the deployment of the tokens happen. And again, guys, I don't want to go too much into, I'm not going to go and search into every single transaction that happened here, because it just doesn't make sense for me to do that, and it would last forever, this video. I want to keep it as short as possible, so that the more people will see this, the more people will actually go and look into these transactions and understand, and again, they will do their own research, their own due diligence, and understand if they are actually in the right position or not, and if they want to add tokens or if they want to sell tokens, and so on. And remember, this, what I just showed you today, it does not affect only MTO. It is about every other token out there. So this is something that you can actually use for your research when trying to buy even other tokens out there. So with that in mind, guys, I really want to thank you for joining me today. Once again, I hope that this was useful today. Don't forget to join tomorrow, where I will be actually talking about where are we at as a project update, where we will be talking about where are we at, where are we headed, and what we have been able to achieve so far, because I really want to remind the community on where are we at the moment. We don't have many updates because nothing much has been happening. We have shared already the video of the wallet being basically tested already. We have shared the MVP and the source code, which again we have been improving, but again I really want to just kind of like have that chat with you and remind you of where are we at and where are we headed. So thank you guys for joining me here. See you tomorrow for the next project update. Thank you so much and have a good day.